Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. These are the news with me, Anna Yelen, and we are going to keep it short because we all know time is money. Today, about 151,600 people have died throughout the world. There have been several explosions all around the world. The politicians are still lying their heads off. Now let's move to sports. Of course, there have been many teams which have won, but we focus only on the bad news, and that means that there have been even more teams and athletes which have lost. Sports managers all around the world have been fired. And last but not least, let's look at the weather. We still haven't sorted out why it can't be sunny everywhere all the time. So yes, the bad news is there are places, and we don't hope that you are located in one of them, but it will be raining. So that's all for today with the news, and we hope that we have subconsciously influenced your mood in a bad way. Stay tuned to more bad news, and goodbye. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is me, Anna Yelen, your time expert. Someone who has, let's say, a very active brain. But as all the brains on this world, it also needs and claims a break sometimes. And for sure, a break from bad news and too much information. Do you know this feeling that there is so much going on in your brain that you almost fear that it will explode? For me, this is my daily business. I'm used to it, and I'm happy it is just like that. Because, let me tell you, about twice a year, I even have I call it a creativity overload collapse. Okay, so imagine an industrial machine producing pieces. And my creativity overload collapse, it feels exactly like this. And it just happens. I can't control it. It overcomes me like a wave. And suddenly, my brain is like a machine spitting out ideas, words, phrases. And it goes on like this for hours, and the only thing to survive an attack like this is to write everything down at the same pace as my thoughts go. So within an hour, there are like hundreds, maybe thousands of post-its lying around me. And I just go on until it suddenly stops. And that's when I just collapse and fall asleep. I know it sounds very bizarre and strange, but I mean, at least it's not often, and with all those ideas which have been spat out by my brain, I have work for another year to go. So I see it somewhat optimistic. If you're out of ideas sometimes, just let me know. But let's get back to a fact we all experience, the overdose of information. It's hard not to see them. They are everywhere. I'm sitting on a bus. There is a screen with the next upcoming events. My brain goes like, that was long ago that I have been to a ballet. Good idea, let's go. The display shows the next event and my mind goes, oh, but a car exhibition, why not? I'm still fixing the screen and the next video is an advertisement for a fitness club. Oh dear. So I look out the window and I see billboards everywhere. Buy this, do that, come here. I mean, poor brain. I tell it to relax, it's all good. No, we don't have to go anywhere or buy anything, it's all good. Just calm down. Let's take our heart as an example. Our heart goes boom, 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 boom all the time. But between every heartbeat, it goes into the diastole mode, which is the part of the cardiac cycle during which the heart refills with blood after emptying, done during systole, which means contraction. So diastole is the part where the heart relaxes. So there you have it automatically. The heart doesn't need to take an active break. It makes it after every contraction. It's natural. If it would be otherwise, that means we would be dead. Now, how about our brain? With all the pieces of information it gets, it seems harder to shut it down, and that's precisely the point. We need to do this. Sometimes you need to shut out the noise and calm your brain down. If you listen carefully, you will know when your brain needs a break. For sure, you know this feeling when you put your head into your hands and you go like this, and that's the moment you go like, I can't think properly anymore. Well, that's the sign to put down your work or whatever you're doing and having a break. Physically, your brain is showing you, I'm tired. And if you listen carefully, you will hear this a few times a day. Go with this flow, and you will see that in the end, you will be far more productive during the rest of your day than when you would ignore it. In a moment like this, do some daydreaming. Go outside, sit on a bench, lie down, do a power nap. Just calm down your brain. Or you do the big brain breaks, where you teach your brain to wind down for a longer time. As I said, with all the information it gets today, you need this space where it can clean itself up, because that's what it's doing when it's winding down. It sorts out the essential information from the unimportant informations. It just happens, but only if you have those input breaks. And there are so many possible ways to calm down the brain: meditation, being in nature, drawing, listening to music, etc. And today, I would like to introduce you to another idea. Once upon a time, there was a moment in my life where I had to clear my thoughts. I was in the middle of a breakup, in job worries. I didn't know which way to go. And yes, the thoughts and feelings were spinning around in my head without a break. My horseback rides with Diabolo were helping me a lot, but it felt as if I needed something different. And that's when I got introduced to the isolation tank. I mean, just the name excited me. Isolation tank. But it's also called sensory deprivation tank therapy or the flotation tank. It is a dark, soundproof tank filled with salt water, and when you are floating in there, you cut off all the external stimuli. The first time I did it, I was in there in this tank for 3 hours. And unfortunately, I have seen offers where they offer an hour. Now, please talk to them. Maybe an hour is enough, but when you want to explore it more deeply, you need longer. In this tank, there you are, you and yourself. It took me almost an hour to calm down these new observations, like, wow, all my muscles are totally relaxing, or man, I can feel the blood rushing through my body, or my thoughts are almost loud. How many minutes have passed? Is my brain going to calm down? And yes, it did. And it's hard to describe what happens. For me, it was like falling into a very profound meditation, but there was something more about it, which really is hard to describe, and I just can't. I can't put it in words. I loved it, and I still do. And even at home, I'm trying to get as near to this experience as possible. For example, when I take a bath, I put my head underwater just so that my nose and mouth are sticking out, or just the nose, but my ears are underwater. It's far away from soundproof and dark, but you know that feeling where everything mutes out? Try to do this for a more extended period and you get so calm. I remember once I was at home with my sister Siri and I was in the bath, the door was closed, she was in the apartment, and I did that floating home style impro And since my ears were underwater, I didn't hear her talking to me. And of course, she didn't get any answers from me. And by the way, you need to know that Siri, she loves crime books and thrillers. And suddenly, I'm still underwater. I hear this dull, muted bumping sound, which was my sister breaking up the door. And I open my eyes, and there she is, standing in the bathroom with those crazy eyes looking at me, freaking panicking. And I just sit up. I look at her in amazement, and she has this look of reproach. And after a few seconds, we just started laughing. But anyway, let's get back to the floating tank. I read a question on the internet in a float tank forum which said, will it make me happier? And the answer is, there are many claims about flotation rest causing feelings of overwhelming happiness and euphoria. People have reported experiencing mild euphoria, increased well-being, and feeling more optimistic following therapy using a sensory deprivation tank. Others have reported spiritual experiences, deep inner peace, sudden spiritual insight, and feeling as if they were born anew. Now, for sure, I had a sudden spiritual insight popping up in the tank once. After floating for hours, I got out with the sudden spiritual insight. I left the place, and do you know what I did? I went to buy a bus. So you see, exciting things can happen in this isolated place. My advice, do the floating experience with professionals. There are many spas offering it, and it's fun. And for sure, it calms down your mind. And it is a clear way to shut out the noise for a moment. Rather small ideas to shut out the noise are: stop reading the newspapers every day. Consume stuff that inspires you rather than make you feel down. Give yourself email limited time. Block notifications from news platforms. And allow daydreaming. Who doesn't love this? Remember? But in school, you might have heard, hey, stop looking out the window and concentrate. Well, I tell you the opposite today. Daydream as much as possible, because the benefit is highly attractive. When we daydream, we let our thoughts run free. And I'm sure you will know it because this happens constantly. For example, when a memory suddenly pops up and we stare without knowing what we are looking at until someone pulls us back, and immediately you are back to reality. This is called daydreaming. Today we know that daydreaming is a fascinating topic, and there are many neurologists who research it. What we know today is the following. When we are daydreaming, our brain is very active. It is working at full force. Nevertheless, we call it a resting activity and perceive it as very relaxing. And we need daydreaming even if we don't remember what we thought about. Because similarly to sleeping, the brain deals with what happened, also what happened throughout the day, evaluates these experiences, rates them, and sorts them. It's a process of complete self-reflection. We distance ourselves from daily business, open our mind for mental connections, and the brain is now able to freely associate and not primarily handle actual problems. It can now find answers, solutions, and ideas that are hidden to our conscious thinking. A perfect tool. So instead of turning on the TV, rather turn on your daydream channel and entertain yourself. It's an excellent opportunity to give the thoughts in your head some space. It doesn't help to ignore them, on the contrary. Offer them some space and let them show up. And that's the only way they will eventually get less, because that way your thought room gets tidied up and sorted through. It's not enough to do this only once in a while. At home, you tidy up constantly. Do the same with your brain and sit down somewhere and just daydream. My dear listeners out there, Imagine having a properly functioning brain, ready to bring your ideas, solutions, and interesting thoughts. It's only possible if you treat it well. And you know what? It's a beautiful thing to do because it's taking care of yourself, and you deserve this. Everyone does. Don't wait for anyone to do this for you. Do it to yourself. Take your time and treat yourself good. And right now could be the moment to book a floating tank session, or to visit a spa, or to go outside, sit on a bench and daydream. Whatever you do, I wish you an extraordinary moment with yourself. Thank you so much for listening. And to all the newcomers, welcome to this podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we are expanding countries. Hello to the girl from China, and hello to all the new listeners from Mexico. It's good to have you on board, and to all the ones who have been here for longer. I take a bow and thank you from the bottom of my heart of still being here. It means a lot to me. My dear listeners, don't lose yourself in the noise. Bye. And by the way, I'm already working on the next episodes, and I can tell you, I have some really good stories coming up, and I am sure there will be one which is made just for you. And maybe the one where I will dig deeper into the question, when shall I quit my job? Because it's a lot of time we spend at work. Take care. Bye bye.